Welcome back to High Stakes. Today, we will be discussing the following NCAAF matches that is happening on Saturday, September 16, 2023. We will be providing our team, total and prop picks for the day. Before we get started, please remember to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our videos. If you want access to our premium picks, you can check out our Patreon page. You can find the link to our Patreon page in the description and comments section below. Penn State vs Illinois. Take the Illini plus 14.5 points. Penn State comes in laying minus 14.5 points for this game, a number that's held rather steady despite a strong majority already laying the chalk with Franklin's squad. Considering QB Drew Aller has a 78.2% completion rate, 43 for 55, and has yet to throw an interception, this Penn State offense has been a model of efficiency so far this year. They are in a perfect historical spot for the program under Franklin, 5-0 Austrian shillings after scoring 60+, and should face minimal resistance from an Illini defense that has allowed an average of 31 points a game this year. I do share the belief that the Illini defense has not lived up to expectations, and if a bettor is constantly concerned about the unpredictability of the turnover battle, which can be an issue when supporting Illinois, it might be prudent to consider a wager with lower risk. Illinois possesses a defense that could make life quite challenging for Aller and Penn State's offense. I even anticipate Aller throwing his first interception of the season in this game. The reliance on their defense can sometimes expose Illinois, but after two subpar performances to start the year despite having a nearly identical defensive scheme as the previous season, the bright lights of prime time, the support of the home crowd, and the rivalry factor should have the Illinois defense exceptionally well prepared to shoulder a significant portion of the burden. It's worth noting that this unit led the nation in scoring defense last year, allowing just 12.8 points per game. The Illini offense, if they can avoid frequent turnovers, should be able to keep this game competitive. Their average of 26.5 points per game this season is certainly respectable. This should be sufficient to keep them within this point spread, which also feels overly generous upon closer examination. Notably, through 2 weeks of the season, road favorites of any margin in college football have only posted a 13-15-1 record against the spread, and 6 of those 13 ATS wins come from Pac-12 programs, which is quite intriguing. Nevertheless, this is a league-wide trend that I monitor every year, and in this case, it adds further support to my decision to take the points. Take under 48.5 points. The total for this game sits at 48.5 with little movement, despite the over garnering the bulk of the support. 101 points scored for Penn State and 53 points scored for Illinois through 2 games will do that though, as I'm sure anything under 50 is a total that's going to look a little low to most here. Yet, we have both of those defenses in play here that put up quality numbers across the board a season ago, and at least the Nittany Lions defense has kept it at that level so far this season. Changing defensive coordinators is always going to bring some headaches, but the Illini appeared to be figuring things out in the second half last week by not allowing a touchdown, and any real chance at winning this game is more likely to come in a low-scoring game script that has that Illini defense really proving they've figured things out. League-wide, it's 13-16 OU this year as well for road favorites, with 11 of those under results staying below the total by at least 10 points. A sub-50 total is likely a little too low for that to be the end result here, but something like 27-14, 24-21, 24-14 for Penn State makes a heck of a lot of sense, and those scores still leave a little room to spare with the under. Iowa State vs Ohio. You take the Ohio with the points. After dropping their season opener, the Bobcats beat the Florida Atlantic Owls, 1-1 Sioux, on the road to pick up their second win of the new year. Down by 10 coming out of the half, Ohio used a 5-yard score by senior O'Shawn Allison to cap their comeback. Allison led all rushers with 84 yards on 23 carries. Quarterback Curtis Rourke threw for 196 yards on 17 of 28 passing and threw a 13-yard touchdown in the first half. He was picked off twice, one of which was returned by the Florida Atlantic defense for a TD. The Ohio defensive unit prevented their opponent's offense from reaching the end zone throughout the game. The Ohio win was the second in a row versus the Owls, as they won at home in their previous matchup last year, 41-38. Ohio's offense ranked in the top 50 in the nation in 2022, averaging 29.7 points per game. They excelled at home in 2022, averaging just over 40 points per game during their contests at Peton Stadium and ranking 11th in the nation. They scored 27 points in their first home game this season, but have averaged only 19 points per game overall so far. Their defense allowed 26.5 points per game on average during the 2022 season, good for 57th place overall in the country. They have given up an average of only 13.3 points per game in their 3 matchups in 2023. While the Cyclones did secure a convincing victory over the Bobcats last season, it's important to note that the win occurred on their home turf. Historically, Iowa State has struggled when playing away from their home stadium, losing 3 of their last 4 games against the spread on the road and managing just 1 road win during the 2022 season. On the other hand, Ohio showed promise in their previous home encounter against Iowa State during the 2021 season, even though their late rally fell short. The Bobcats covered the spread comfortably in that game. Additionally, Ohio has won 8 of their last 11 games against the spread overall and has been particularly strong in their last 5 games at Peton Stadium, winning 4 of them. Notably, Ohio boasted one of the highest scoring home teams in the nation last season, averaging over 40 points per game. In their first home game this season, they put up 27 points and gained over 300 yards in total offense against a tough LU defense, despite LU's win-loss record of 0-2. In contrast, the Cyclones have struggled in their recent road games, losing 3 of their last 4 against the spread. With Ohio's offense led by Rourke expected to perform well at home, it's reasonable to anticipate the Bobcats keeping the game competitive against the Cyclones on Saturday. Take the under 44 points. Iowa State has gone under the point total in 8 of their last 9 games, dating back to October 2022, and they have gone under in both of their contests this season. Their defense has come up big on the road, allowing 14 or fewer points in 4 of their previous 5 games. The Cyclones limited the Bobcats to only 10 points in their clash last season at home. Iowa State's defense was relentless last season, ranking 18th in the nation in average points allowed per game with 21.2. They allowed 15 or more points in only 4 of their 12 games last season, and they have allowed a total of 29 points during their first 2 games of 2023. The Bobcats went under the point total in their first 3 games of 2023, and they have pushed or gone under in their previous 6 regular season games. Their defense also excelled in 2022, ranking in the top half of the teams in the country in average points allowed per game. They have given up an average of 13.33 points per game in their first 3 games of the new season. Most signs point to a lower scoring affair when these 2 teams meet in Ohio on Saturday. Louisville vs Indiana. Take the Hoosiers plus 10 points. Indiana had several transfers join the program, including E.J. Williams, Taven Jackson, and Marcus Burris. Some notable departures from the squad include Travell Mullen, Emery Simmons, and Javen Swinton. Head coach Tom Allen will be returning to the squad for his 7th year. He notably won the 2020 Big Ten Coach of the Year and is hoping to reclaim that success this season. Tavian Jackson and Brendan Sorsby have split the time at the quarterback position for the Hoosiers this season, but Jackson has looked like the better of the two, with a 73.1% completion percentage and an average of 10 yards per attempt. Neither has thrown a touchdown or interception yet, but I have a feeling that will change this Saturday. Jalen Lucas leads the backfield with over 100 yards rushing on the year and 21 carries. He has also scored 2 touchdowns. On the receiving end, Omar Cooper Jr. is the only player with 100+ yards receiving, and he has the most receptions on the team with 7. As a squad, Indiana is averaging 355.5 yards of offense per game, 213 yards through the air and 142.5 on the ground. They are also scoring an average of 22 points per game. In a clash between offensive prowess and defensive strength, I hold the belief that Louisville will emerge victorious on the road. However, I anticipate that their offense might encounter more resistance than desired when facing the Hoosier defense. Indiana managed to restrict the high-scoring Ohio State to a mere 23 points, while also covering the spread. In their second game of the season, Indiana conceded just 7 points against Indiana State. It's worth noting that Big Ten opponents present a different challenge for Louisville, and the raucous home crowd noise is likely to prove distracting for some players. Although the Cardinals have been racking up substantial yardage and points on offense this season, Plummer, their quarterback, will need to exhibit greater consistency and minimize turnovers to instill more confidence in their offensive capabilities. Take under 50.5 points. Louisville has gone through a shakeup in the transfer portal, obtaining players such as Kevin Coleman, Marcus Washington, and Joey Gatewood to name a few. KJ Cloyd, Chance Morrow, and D. Wiggins were the biggest names to depart the program this offseason. The Cardinals are also going through a shakeup in the head coaching position, with Jeff Brome taking the reins. He has led Western Kentucky and Purdue previously before coming to Louisville. Louisville has started off the season strong on the offensive end. They are currently ranked 4th in the country, with an average of 582 yards gained per game. They rank 31st with an average of 298.0 yards through the air, and 3rd in the ground game with 285.5 yards per game. This so far has led them to scoring 47.5 points per game, ranking 13th in the nation. Jack Plummer is the QB under center for the Cardinals this year, and so far, he has completed 64.2% of his passes for 494 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Jar Johnson is the primary tailback for the Cardinals, rushing for 231 yards on only 14 carries with 3 touchdowns to his name. Jamari Thrash is the leading receiver for Louisville, with 170 yards on 10 receptions and 3 touchdowns. Nobody else on the team has more than 100 yards receiving yet. I trust Indiana's defense at home to limit the Louisville offense to under 30 points. Should they be able to do that, I have confidence that Indiana won't be able to do enough on offense to reach the over. While the Hoosiers have decided on a starter after splitting time between the two QBs, Indiana will still need a game or two to fully gel as a unit. Plummer also has had problems with turnovers this year, allowing Indiana to control at least some of the game. If Indiana can limit Ohio State to less than 30 points, the under should be easily reachable.